Hello, guitar enthusiasts. Welcome back to our channel. This is Nick here from Solo Guitars. Today we're going to take a step through on another setup technique. Now, if you're following along with us, we covered a general truss rod adjustment using our Solo straight edge with the Gibson Fender scale length. On the bench today, we have our FVK15 kit that, as you can see, we have the two pneumatic bridge sitting flat against the body, which is giving no extra room for the action to be set to the proper height. Now, how do we fix that? We just got this brand new and excellent set of tapered neck shims. Now, they sell them as a separate of a 1 degree, half degree, a quarter degree, or in a pack of 3. This can really give you the access that you need to pinpoint exactly the angle you need to rectify this issue. Now, this one doesn't have a lot of space that it needs to be raised, so we are going to start with the 1/4 inch. If the 1/4 inch doesn't do it, we're going to pop it back out and we're going to try it with the 1/2 inch. On the bench today, we have our trusty Hosco #2 Phillips screwdriver. Even though this is under tension with the strings, we can actually take the 4 bolts out of the neck plate to make your life easier for this for the general setup after the fact. So, using our trusty Music Nomad cradle cube here, we're going to set this up with the flat side so the fretboard sits nice and comfortably and it doesn't get damaged in the sense while we unscrew the back of these screws here. I already know that it is very necessary to use this in order to get the proper action and height that I'm looking for in these strings. I don't recommend using an impact driver or a drill in this particular case. You can, I guess, if you're going to take the screws out, but when it comes to putting them back in, you want to ensure that you're turning this by hand, not to strip out the wood in the neck. All right. Now, I guess you're going to ask me, are you sure this is okay to do under tension? If you're a Pawn Stars fan, I remember correctly seeing that a Jimi Hendrix Strat came into the pawn shop, King of Pawns, and the guy actually took this guitar at $750,000 and did just this so they could actually date the guitar properly from underneath the neck bed. So now that we have this off, we're going to be opening up the package. I'm actually going to start with the 1/2 degree. I think that it needs a little bit extra. It gives the actual opportunity for the 2 pneumatic bridge to be raised up a little bit higher. So it does give you a little bit more behind it as opposed to not being quite enough. So at least in this case, you have that extra room to really play with instead of being not quite enough. Now we got the popped in there. Let's pop the neck back in place. You're gonna make sure your strings are obviously out of the way. Make sure that your strings are on the saddles as they should be. It'll help that really hold itself in place. Again, go and check the strings up at the nut as well. Okay, now we're ready to put it back in place. So you're going to make sure you have a nice firm grasp on your neck joint. When it comes to putting this in, it is still under tension. So there we have it. Nice and tight. Come back in with our Hosco screwdriver. Make sure you're nice and pinched. I recommend, kind of like when you're doing a tire change on your vehicle, go opposite. So you're going to go corner to corner, making sure that you have one screwed in from the back, one screwed in from the front, and go opposite to each other. That'll just ensure that you don't have to pinch it as hard and that it'll do the job that it needs. Make sure they're all nice and snug. All right. Now we have our shim installed. Now we're going to check with our straight edge to ensure that we have the correct height adjustment that we are after. Oh, I'm going to make that turn on our cradle cube. You can see there it has a nice divot on the other end that'll sit nicely for your shaped neck. Now, without further ado, as you see with the last, I can already see that that's picked it up nicely enough that I'm happy with, in the sense where I might not actually have to touch that 2 pneumatic bridge. Now, it might not always work that easily, but in this case, we got pretty lucky. But we are also going to bring it back up to tension. Having taken the strings off in that particular way, it did take a little bit of tension out of the strings. So we're going to retune it back up with our handy little snark here on the top of the headstock. And we're going to go from there. Okay, so we can hear a little bit of fret buzzing, which means that we do need to do a little bit of adjustment. So we're going to raise the saddles, raise the 2 pneumatic bridge up here using our DiMarzio multi-tool that has a flathead screwdriver on it to make our life simple in this case. As I can see here, we are slightly too low. We're going to raise up the treble side just a touch to really bring that to the height we're after. Now, using our straight edge, we are going to double check. We're going to sit these on the top of the fret and come right across there. Now, as I can see here, now we're touching the top of the frets on this end, and we are just shy of the actual saddle where the string sits properly, which is going to give us a nice point of action for a nice playing instrument. Pop that aside, double check. Now, of course, because we have raised up the pitch of the tune-o-matic bridge on that side, we're going to have to double check our tuning on the top side. All right, so let's check out how we did, shall we? As you can see from here, right at our 12th fret there, that has brought the action down to a height that I'm quite comfortable with, while still actually being flat on the body. Now, I beforehand was sitting up considerably higher than normal. Now, this was sitting at about 1/4 inch to almost 3/8 of an inch off of that 12th fret, which it brings the action a little bit too high. It would be good for slide, but if this kind of shape is not really intended for a slide. This is intended for real shredding. So now I have happy action, which means a happy guitar, which in turns also means a happy player. See that smile? Now, normally you would take just a maple shim, crack it in half, put it into the back side of the guitar. But the fact that these are tapered to a specific specification really eliminates that issue. Not to mention having a little bit of air in between that you can see from the side of your bolt-on neck. This will eliminate the look of things aesthetically, as well as from the productive side of things. Really make sure that it is exactly as it should be to ensure that pocket is sitting correctly with the neck to the body. Now, the better the connection point of the guitar with the neck to the body, the better the sustain, the overall strength and stability of the guitar is going to be there, which is why these neck shims really make that improvement drastically for this particular problem. As always, thanks for spending some time with us in the back of the solo shop here today. Stay tuned for more as we go over more of our kits, tools, supplies, finishing tips, and more here at Solo Guitars.